Originally, this is a full-length workout, which I shortened, so the warm-up is going to be reflecting that. The warm-up is a bit long, and the warm-up also reflects the type of workout it is. We'll be isolating muscles and movement. So the warm-up will have a lot of stretches, a lot of holds, because we will be working on individual muscles or muscle groups for a certain length of time. The purpose of this workout is to demonstrate proper form and also your target. When practicing kickboxing or using kickboxing as a means of a fitness goal, it is important for you to pay attention to your form so that you can get maximum results from your training. Along the course of this workout, you have the option to continue with the reps. I shortened the video, as I mentioned. It was a full-length workout. That was the original aim, but I figured because the moves are so repetitive, I'm not 100% sure if persons would want to watch it all the way through. You can give me some feedback at the end and let me know if you would like this to be posted as a full-length workout video or if I should keep it short. But the main purpose is to pay attention to your form and your technique. The first thing we'll be looking at is our stance. So we will keep our feet staggered and parallel. Depending on which hand you're more dominant in, that's the foot that you place forward. We keep our knees buoyant. We don't want to lock our knees out. We keep our knees buoyant. That way we are planted on the ground and we won't topple over. Now we move up from the feet. We want to keep our hips squared and facing forward. We also want to keep our elbows at a 90-degree angle. And when it comes to the chin, some people prefer to have their chins tucked. Some people prefer to have their chins untucked. I personally prefer to train with my chin tucked. And finally, we need to keep our abdominals engaged the whole time you're training. Now that we have our stance in check, we can move on. Next, we'll be looking at our jabs. There are a few things to consider when throwing a jab, starting with your body rotation. Your hips and your shoulders should rotate in order to create a little bit more of an extension with your jab. Your opposing arm should always be up against your face, that way you're always guarded. Always imagine that you are hitting through your target, so you're not training to hit the surface of the face, you're training to hit through the face, that way you have more power behind all your strikes. Consider training to hit a target that's taller than you. This move is a bit exaggerated just for clarity, but I always prefer to train to hit a target that's taller than myself. Now focusing on our cross, we want to keep a pivot in that foot from the toes up to the hips, and that pivot should carry all the way up to your shoulders. That way your punches can hit with more impact, more power, and more reach. We want to maintain the same principles as before, focusing on your stance and also when it comes to your target, aiming through the face and also aiming for someone that's taller than yourself. Now we do the same thing on the opposite side. We jab for 4 to 5 seconds and then jab cross for another 4 to 5 seconds, increasing in intensity and power as you go along. As I mentioned before, it's important for you to train on both sides of your body. Up next, we have our hook. We want to keep our arm placement at the same 90-degree angle. And we need to keep a rotation in our hips and shoulders just like before. That way we generate more power into our hook. Now for the shoulder, some persons like to rotate their shoulders, others don't. Where the hooks are concerned, your target areas are the rib section and the temple of your opponent. Always be mindful of your form the whole way through, and we do that same thing on the next side. Next we have our uppercut. This is a very powerful strike. Now this strike starts from your toes. You start with pivoting your toes. The pivot motion should go all the way through your hips, up to your shoulders, and that is what generates the power behind the uppercut. The target for uppercuts should be your opponent's chin. Now, something to note. In order to generate more power into your uppercuts, focus your back muscles and your obliques into the move. Combine the engagement of your back muscles and your obliques with the pivot from your foot all the way up through your hips. This is what generates the power behind an uppercut. Now with our front kicks, we want to maintain power. So we drive the power from our thighs. We use our knees to lead the kick, and that power comes out through your heel. Your heel is what will be making the impact. Now you want to lean away from your kick so that it creates a bit more of an extension. I say we're guiding with our knees, but I don't want that to be misconstrued. We're not using our knees to fling the kick out. We don't want to end up hyperextending our knee. The knee should be used more as a whip per se. If you can imagine how a whip works, the power goes through the knee and out through the heel. There are different ways to set up a side kick. For the purpose of this video, I'll be doing the inward step version. Now for the side kick, the same principles apply as the front kick, where it relates to the knee. So the knee is lifted first, and then the power is sent out through the heel or through the knife edge of your foot. The target of our kicks all remain the same. You can either aim for the shin, meaning you don't have to kick so high, or you can aim for a higher area of the body. So you can practice both low kicks and high kicks. And finally, we have the knee strikes. Knee strikes is another powerful move. You want to drive your knee upwards and through your target. You want to maintain as much power as you possibly can for your knee strikes for them to be effective. Please also remember to keep all the fundamentals in place, keeping your abs tucked in, keeping your feet staggered and parallel from each other in order to maintain your balance. Keeping your knees buoyant and soft, you don't want to lock out your knees. And also with the knee strikes, you want to lean away from your strikes as well in order to create an extension. Thank you for joining me. Please remember, when you're training kickboxing, always keep your power and intensity up. That way you get the full effect from this type of training.